Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Berto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. Welcome aboard, Tiaula Wilson. Yes, I made it customer free for the moment. Welcome aboard, my friend. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. We're going to have a great show for you, Miss Wilson. We are going to be talking a whole lot of stuff. Of course, we're going to start with a little preamble about a few things. Folks, it's crazy out there. Houston, Texas. You know, a few days ago, the governor went out, the lieutenant governor, well, the governor, first of all, have us in dire straits because he has superseded the laws of local authorities, prevented them from doing the things that they wanted to do. Now, Texas is a mess. Yes, Texas is a mess. Now, the lieutenant governor a few days ago said that he doesn't care what Fauci has to say. Fauci, the guy who runs it, I guess it's not the CDC, but one of those organizations who gives the infectious diseases organization, who gives all the advice as far as, hey, we can't do this, etc., etc. Folks, please go ahead and share as soon as you log in. We need you to help us move this message forward. So please share on your Facebook page, your Facebook wall, your Twitter account, your Sir Wesley account, which means your Twitch account. Welcome aboard, hermano Sir Wesley. And your all the other channels, Tumblr, Twitter, Tumblr. Come on, give me some more. Instagram, Super Chat, not Super Chat, Chat. You know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, so yeah, our lieutenant governor ridiculously comes out and he says he doesn't listen to Fauci. He just listens to. He wants to listen to authorities who make sense, who are look, if you take a look at what's happening in Texas is exactly what Fauci said would happen. Of course, it's science. And these are the guys who are out there telling people, well, you know, some of us older people, 55 years old and older, Dimitri OG, welcome aboard, 55-year-old and older, yeah, we don't mind dying to keep our economy strong. You guys know I talk a lot about economic systems, right? But I make it fun. Let's make it fun. Here's the deal. Are you willing to die for capitalism? Are you willing to die for a system that says, I am going to work you like a horse. By the time you are ready to retire, you'll have very little. But those people who worked you very hard, they get to keep everything. Those people that are working you very hard, they have the best health care. Those people that are working you very hard can do as they please. Now they want you to sacrifice for them. And under the pretext of sending the lieutenant governor and sending a lot of these guys on TV to say, oh, please go out there and work. Work is a good thing. Work is a good thing. If you are one of the stakeholders in a business, and all of you, the stakeholders in the business, are getting the fruits of your labor. But if that is not the case, what I'm telling Americans right now, if you are going to work in danger, and if in danger means you are not going to get health care, in working in danger means you're not going to get pay for sacrificing or risking. Here's what's interesting, okay? Here is what is interesting. They always talk about the billionaire. The reason we allow billionaires to make $1 billion even though it's on your back, it is because they are risking their capital. They are risking their money. They are risking all these things. Look, they're now asking you to go back to work. And what are you risking again? Oh, just your life. Just your life. As I've spoken about many a times in this country, your life is worth much less than the capital of the billionaire. We have to get into a modal where we stop thinking about always what is good for the billionaire and start thinking about what is good for each individual American. And for that to occur, we have to develop what's called worth. What is worth? Worth is understanding that it's you who make America great. You, the individual, you, the garbage man, you, the secretary, you, the person sweeping the floors, you, the janitors, you, the person at the check stand, you, the person that's cleaning up that hospital room. That is America. Those are the people in America who should also be compensated, right? But we can only attain that if we all educate ourselves together. And as we educate ourselves together, stick together and assign our worth, not allow them to pit us one against the other. Not allow, and the first topic I'm going to be talking about has some racism in the topic, because that is the magic to keep us apart. That is a magic to keep taking advantage of us. That is a magic that was instituted into this country from its inception to ensure that we fight each other and not look at the genesis of the problem, not look at who is actually creating the problem that's screwing us all. So what is the show about today? Title of the show today is, and don't forget, folks, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and share the program. If you're just joining us, please share, please share, please share. COVID-19 proves Trump is the Prez we deserve. There's an article I want to kind of read. It's from the, I think it's from the one of those rags, The Guardian, I believe it is. Article is Donald Trump the president we deserve? Okay, but the first thing we're going to talk about is privilege in suburbs arrested. Privilege in suburbs arrested. Kind of catchy title. A community in Montclair, New Jersey, brought me close to tears and a big smile as they came. And a big smile. It brought me to tears along with a big smile. Because that community, as they came out in support of a black man bullied by a racist white woman, is Trump the president we deserve? Donald Trump is going off the rails. Yes, he's going off the rails. Donald Trump went on TV and said, COVID-19 will just disappear. COVID-19 will just disappear. That wasn't from when he said it 3 or 4 months ago. That is now that he just said that yesterday. Once again, we have another instance of a privileged white woman demanding that a black man acquiesce lest she calls the police, which she did. But this beautiful story, and I mean it's a beautiful story, put a huge smile on my face. I got a huge smile after watching this. You know, it was actually originally posted at the Daily Kos. And the reason I got a smile is because America, I think, may be changing. So let me go ahead and play this, and then let's take it on the other side. I just read a piece at Daily Kos that I tell you, written by Walter Einenkel at Daily Kos, one of the Daily Kos staff, and I have to tell you, it makes you want to cry, because not because of what happened with this woman. We were used to these types of microaggressions. We are used to this type of involvement, thinking that we are always answerable to you. In other words, we take a look at, people, when people watch police officers shoot down somebody or stop somebody indiscriminately, they say things like, why didn't you just answer the questions and it would have just been over? In other words, it is okay for you to be over-policed. It is okay for you to stop you in your tracks for whatever you are doing, right? It is always okay. But if that is placed on you, suddenly it's a problem. But for you, we should always have the right to ask you, do you belong here? Just like or if you ask me to do something that is otherwise I don't want to do, who the hell are you to tell me what to do? Well, apparently this happened again in New Jersey, Montclair, New Jersey. And what made me want to cry wasn't that it happened, not that this white woman who thought she had some superiority over her neighbor building something in his backyard, and she wanted to tell him, you can't build that, or do you have the legal rights to do it? I mean, think about this. If I see somebody in my backyard attempting to build something, am I going to go out there and say, do you have the right to build that? No, I won't. If that's not in my space, I have no right. But she thought she had the right. And they responded to her, we don't have to answer to you. We don't. But by the way, we know that it's legal, but we don't have to answer to you, nor do you have the right to come onto my property and tell me that. Well, this woman, apparently she's been harassing her black neighbors for a couple of years. Well, this woman decided to come into the yard and say, hey, you guys can't be building that. Prove to me that it's okay for you to build that. Prove to me that it's okay for you to build that. And they said, no, no, no. And when she finally found out, I guess, that really they could build it, and not only that, but that it's legal, she had to find another recourse. And what is the other recourse? Just like that young lady in the park who called the police officers on the black dude who told her to put her dog on a leash, because who the hell are you to tell me that? And now it happened again. This woman says I'm going to call the police, and accuses him of pushing her off his property. Luckily, there are neighbors around, and his wife is also saying this never happened. But what brought tears to the eyes was that the neighbors, the white neighbors in this white neighborhood or this white area, came outside as well in support, stayed in. No, he didn't do that. Why are you calling the cops? And the thing about it is, whenever a white person calls a cop on a black person, and I'm just telling it the way it is, the concern is, even if you are in the right, in fact, I don't call cops. If something happens around here, I try my best not to call a cop, because even the callers of the cops that are POCs, black or otherwise, have a tendency to be the ones that get questioned and many times get arrested. But this time, the cops were surrounded by a community made up of white people who came out and said to this white woman, why are you doing this? These people have done nothing to you. They stuck up for what was righteous. I love the new generations of people that are coming up and seeing how things really are. Now racism, as I've always spoken about, is a stupid thing. It's a necessary thing for capitalism. But you know what is starting to happen? People are starting to see the truth. People are starting to see that, hey, we are being used. And in the process of being used, we are hurting other human beings. And we are not, they're calling her now a permit Karen, because do you have a permit to build that? But here's the deal. People are now speaking up. Poor Karen, poor permit Karen. She's also a victim. She just doesn't know it, But she could have gotten that guy killed. She just doesn't know it. She knows what she's doing. She knows that because her feelings was hurt, because she was wrong, and because her personally perceived superiority over her neighbor was not tolerated, was sent flying in her hurt little self, she was going to show him. Just like Amy Cooper was going to let that black dude know, how dare you tell me to put the leash on? How dare you tell me to leave your property after I questioned you about whether you had a permit, and I'm going to call the cops on you. Well, the cops came out. That is a frightening sight for any black person, specifically black men. The cops came out to the house. But the white neighbors, in the Black Lives Matter movement, when the white allies come out, I remember we were in St. Louis at a Black Lives Matter march. We were at St. Louis, and the Netroots Nation was in St. Louis, and Black Lives Matter was going to shut down the freeway. And we shut down the freeway, and I remember when the calls came in, when the cops came racing down, and the Black Lives Matter leader called out, "White allies, we need you." And you saw the march of white allies come in front of the line to meet the police, because they knew they were providing that guard against the oppressor of the POCs. It is that coalition. In politics done right, I've always said, when we unite the ghettos, Appalachia, and the barrios, it's a stereotype, but it's meant to convey something. We would have accomplished what we need to accomplish. And in this story on Daily Kos, you guys need to, I'm going to reblog it and then point back to it. But in this story, it is showing an America coming together. Professor Eddie Glaude at Princeton, he once said, We've seen these things before where it looks like we're making a change and everything is there ready and cocked for a change. And then it doesn't occur. I have a different feeling this time. I think enough people are starting to see two things. Racism in its own right, because we know each other is rather stupid. We know that. Although within the mind, those prejudices that were implanted, those engraved, implanted prejudices are hard to rid of until we do it from the heart. But deep inside, the intellectual is coming to fruition. The intellectual part that is saying this is simply and absolutely wrong is coming to fruition. And after that comes to fruition, it comes from the heart. Folks that I saw out there in these videos proves that. It proves that. So what happened?
You won't go home. You won't go home. Okay? We expect that of Amy's. We expect that. We expect that. Of course you are. That's what you know. He did not.
Yes, he did.
No,
You're his spouse. Yeah, could I please get a 44 Norman Road? I need a call.
She's calling the police.
Wow. This is what she's been waiting 2 years to do this. She's been waiting 2 years to do this.
He's taller than me, pushed me off his property.
She's been waiting 2 years to do this to us. She's been waiting 2 years for this.
Are you crazy?
This is Susan that lives on Marion Road in Montclair.
In this climate right now, you're especially not supporting members of our community here.
He pushed me 10 feet.
I want to stop that because there is this other white woman speaking to her, and she says, in this climate right now, you mean you're not supporting your black neighbor? I mean, she tells her white neighbor that. You mean in this climate, you see what's happening, you're not supporting your neighbor?
They're saying he didn't.
I didn't put my hands on you, woman.
Are you kidding me? Just because I came over here alone, I should have brought my son.
No, you're threatening. Are you threatening us with your?
Not admitting to it.
Are you threatening us with your son?
Are you
No.
saying you didn't put your hands on me?
Ain't nobody put their hands on you.
No one put your hands
No
on. He
one put
put
their
his
hands
hands
on
on me.
you.
I asked you to please leave.
No, because you're attorneys, you know what to do.
And again,
Exactly.
she's
So
on
please
their
walk away
property,
from our property.
and she's saying
just let
leave,
her,
and
so
she
our
won't
kids
leave.
don't have to see the police, please. Please just go inside with them.
Got really
There are a
crazy
number
in
of
my
witnesses
face.
here, and they're not the only lawyers around right now, and I don't believe these witnesses.
He was angry. She was pushing him back. No, she was pushing me. Look at my arm.
Sorry, guys.
Get on me without a mask.
Stay away from you without a mask. I wonder who she supports.
Could you please stop recording?
No. This is for the people. So that
Now, I mean, so that is what got to me. Surrounded by white neighbors, and they are there saying, we are not going to let you make us look like who you are. That makes a difference. Now, later on, the kids, and this is the best part now, right? The kids, they said, we are not having this in Montclair. No, we're not. So what did the kids do? Check out what the kids did.
Your racist self has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Your racist self has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho. Your racist self has got to go. Hey, hey. Ho, ho.
They marched in front of her home. These young people saying, we don't want any of that around here. You know, Eddie Glaude, we hope Eddie Glaude, brother Eddie Glaude, Dr. Eddie Glaude from Princeton, we think, and I really mean this, I think we may be starting to see that edge. And I think Donald Trump has a lot to do with it. The crudeness, the evil that he allowed to emanate that was graphic for all to see. And for those cops who now were killing without impunity, I know what a lot of people are saying, but it's only a few people that got killed. They don't tell you all the stories because remember, there are a lot of things that occur that's never reported. The change is coming. This warmed the heart, and it should warm the hearts of all. Michael SESAC, thank you for being here every single day. I love you. But I also have to tell you, and I say this with respect, and I say this with most deep honesty, and I also say it with love. You are a racist. But it's not only that you are a racist, Mr. SESAC, it's that I don't think you understand how racist you are. and how uninformed you are. But it's okay. Let's go ahead and hit a few points. Your statement, first of all, and I ignore many of them because I don't want to distract many times from the program and what I'm talking about. So let me. I just fixed that. I just fixed it. Thank you guys for telling me about the sound. I just fixed that. My bad. All right. So what I was explaining to Brother SESAC is that Brother SESAC is here every day. I love Brother SESAC for being here every day, but I wanted to also tell Brother SESAC that he's a racist, and it's okay, because what I want people to come to Politics Done Right to do is for us all to learn and for us all to change. I am not calling him a racist as race baiting or anything like that. But when he makes a lot of comments on the thread, race-based comments that are generally based on right-wing propaganda, not based in numeric. Some of them actually are based in numerical facts, but are not based in numerical in reality context, in the correct context. So what really brought me to just tell the entire family of us all that Mr. SESAC is a racist? Let me explain. Mr. SESAC writes, and for those that are on other platforms that are not seeing exactly what Mr. SESAC wrote, Mr. SESAC wrote, and let me get to the piece that really got to my ire. He said, I want to read his words so that it's not misconstrued. So, but in effect, he's saying, Egberto points out a story about a white woman who worked at the EPA, is a leftist, and is a known bully in the neighborhood. Conservatives in the neighborhood came to her defense of the black community. Of course, the people that are in that community are all wearing masks, and the person that is attacking this guy is not wearing a mask. Tell me who is the conservative and who is a Trump-loving person? The person with COVID going on over the place, not wearing a mask, or more than likely her neighbors who all have a mask. In fact, I show in the video where she runs up to one of the neighbors, and the neighbor says, "Get away from me, you don't have a mask on." That doesn't sound to me like the right-wing Republicans that we have now that are complaining about wearing masks and simply don't wear masks, just like this woman, Susan, didn't wear her mask. So SESAC, when you try to put that spin on, not because she works for the EPA means she's a Democrat. Likely she's not, okay? So I don't know what anybody else is. I know what? All the other white people around her were human beings. I know she was a bully. That's what I know for a fact. Now, the next thing that Mr. SESAC said is Tiala. White on white or Asian crime is much rarer than percentage of the population, which is true, but put some context into that. Why? Because of the socioeconomic condition. Then Mr. SESAC says, I have been all over the world. It is consistent. Violent crime is much higher in black populations, even in all black countries. Again, like I've always stated to Mr. SESAC, all these issues are socio-economic issues wherever that reality is true. Now let's talk about violence, and let's talk about who have the ability to do the most harm to people. We take a look at America's founding. The people in America that you attempt to make into good people that don't do bad things because it's not within their genes, within the black genes and the other genes. They are evil people. But our white, clean folk, we don't do those things. Do remember, the most heinous crimes in society in the last 500 years have been perpetrated by white people. Is that because most white people are bad? Hell no, that's not the case at all. It has to do with power and who is in power. The people that killed the 30-something million Jews, white on white crime, was a white guy named Hitler. Okay? The persons who enslaved a whole bunch of people in America, whipped them, cut their nuts off, do the most heinous things to their bodies, lynched them, and did all those things, were people who looked like you, Mr. SESAC. The people who wiped out the Indians, the native people of this land, who taught them how to live in these types of conditions, weren't people that looked like me or the indigenous people or anybody else. They looked like you, Mr. SESAC. So all the people that have done all these heinous crimes that weren't on the individual basis, but on a massive scale, We are talking massive scale. Were people who looked like you. The people who dropped an atomic bomb that in one city killed 100,000 people at one time looked like you. And on the second sig in Nagasaki looked like you. So please, my friend, I am not doing this to attribute crime or to attribute bad things on any particular race. What I'm trying to do is do not start that narrative about black people being violent and somehow in your virtues you are not. Because the reality is most of the harm in the last 500-600 years in the world has been perpetrated by imperialism, and the folks who ran imperialism looked like you, Mr. SESAC. And around that, the Indians in India, the people in Afghanistan and all over the place suffered dearly with deaths, with their lives. So please do, anytime, and my brothers and sisters, black, white, and everybody else, anytime anybody tries to put violence on any particular race, it is imperative that you know the history of the world. Because the people that have done the most damage, and notice I limit it to the last 600 years. And the reason why is if we go to the Egyptian era, we'll have other kinds of slavery and it's other people doing it. So there is no gene, there's no evil gene, there's no violent gene. We all have the capacity to be bad and we all have the capacity to be good. And we have to acknowledge that. Mr. SESAC is simply a racist person that does not understand anything about history or anything that people do. So he responds. Actually, the most cause of deaths were by communists in Russia, China, and India. Let's look at what you just said. They were by the communists, Russia, China, and India. Oh, so what were those people again? And what about Great Britain and as they colonized different lands? Please tell me. Please tell me. So, Mr. SESAC, not only my brother, and I truly say this with love, you're not only a racist, but you're also ignorant. And it is important that you stay with us, and in the process of staying with us, you actually learn. And if you open your mind to learn, you will actually see that you make a change within your life. And Indiana Bones is actually correct. Authoritarians of any kind, and I can actually name African authoritarians. I can look and I can say Mobutu. I could say Idi Amin is in a special direction. But what I'm saying is I could actually make the case that the person who goes ahead and talks about ideology, who was the first person to bring that up? You made the statement of the day, because that is what it's all about, brothers and sisters. Don't inject. Race is a silly thing. Race is a foolish thing. And Mike SESAC, you have proven how foolish making that sort of statement can make one look. Because what it makes it seems is that you are, which I think so far you are. I hope listening more to our program will change you. You know, I hope that you will learn, because I think unlike what others would tell you, I have been very kind in the way I push back on your intrinsic racism. I hope you've learned and I've planted some seeds in your head, because if not, you will continue to live in your own funk and ignorance. And again, it may satisfy a little seed within yourself, but that is about all that it could possibly do, because the rest of the world is moving on. And thankfully so, the rest of the world is moving on. Because again, I pointed out all those particular issues, who've committed these issues, and it should make it fine. But anyhow, let's move on. The reason I handled Mr. SESAC out of order, my brothers and my sisters, is because there are times that you need to do it immediately so that it will be right in the right context. Because, you know, the way people watch our program is they may come in, they may take 5 minutes, others may take 10 minutes, others may take 15, some take the entire hour. So I want to make sure, in the case of when SESAC put that message in there, I wanted to address that message right away, the ignorance of the message, and to also show that Mike SESAC is a prototype of what your classic racist of today look like. They can use partial information to impart things. When he comes and he says, oh, all over the world, black people are more violent all over the world. And people kind of believe that kind of stuff. And even here in America. And that is a problem, right? Because you have good white people here, let's say even here in my town, Kingwood. They legitimately have a fear of people who look like me. They do. And I forgive that, right? Because their sources of input makes it look like I am this dangerous, evil person, want to rape everybody and do all these bad things. So when I meet people who are racist, I try to talk to them, and not only talk to them, but explain to them the ignorance of racism and how you have been given two messages that make no sense. How could blacks in America have been enslaved, whipped, and controlled, and to this day have not risen up to do anything to harm in the aggregate, and somehow be so very much dangerous? How can the indigenous people who've been wiped out have been so evil and not been able to? You're getting two messages, and the message that they try to impart on you is one of fear. And what I do with all folks that I find out that are racist, and I do it mostly with women, right? And the reason why is white women are generally in that spot that they're following that kind of a lady, if you will. But it is so important for you to understand. The fallacy is that you are so dangerous, but somehow you're always controlled. You're always not able to do the things that you have. Take a look. I don't see white men getting killed by cops in the streets. We see that to black guys. It makes the reality and the fallacy are so far apart. You have to keep having those messages imparted on you every day. So you watch your local news. There's a lot of crime that occurs in the city every day. Okay? Every day. Every day you hear all these crimes in the street. But somehow, because who producers are at radio stations and TV stations, the crime always look the same. It always look the same. You have to ask at some point. I heard a brother or a sister in the chat room said, Dexter Evans. Dexter Evans said systemic racism. When we talk about systemic racism, those are the types of things that promote systemic racism. Because what they do is they put in your mind a false reality. And that false reality, you live with. And why I also tell a lot of my POCs, meaning black, Latinos, and otherwise, don't jump to react to racism, because that is what capitalism wants. Capitalism wants you. First of all, capitalism needs racism. Our economic system needs racism. Why? Because if 1% of the people are going to have 99% of the people as slaves, however gradated, right? We have the high-paid folks that are that keep the other tier in. It's a perfect structure, right? It's a long-lived structure that works. We keep people gradated, and one of the most effective way of gradating people is just how they look, the color of their skin, the texture of their hair, the shape of their eyes. We create different historical things about people that look differently. And then we can do partitions in society. And in doing these partitions in society, using these racial cues, we can have people scared of others and create fights among each other and so forth. And you don't see that we are ripping all of your pockets off. That is what it's all about. And that is why, I get, let me be frank with you, Mike SESAC. You know how many people want me to block you? You and a few other people. And I said, absolutely not. I love Mike SESAC. I really do. You know what's going to be my best day? My best day is when Mike SESAC, he probably won't do it online. He'll send me an email, and I'm saying this out loud to you, Mike. You're going to send me an email one of these days when it hits you. And you're going to say, wow, I can't believe the fog I've allowed the system for so long to keep me in. That is coming. Because all the seeds that gets planted in your head from being here every day will ultimately work. I have no doubt. I have No doubt. Anyway, there's this article that was put out there. I forgot the name of the author at The Guardian. It was called Polls Show Trump Isn't the President America Wants. But spiking coronavirus rates show he is the president. He's the president we deserve. Dear America, you have lost the ability to do big things. I know this because you are unwilling to do relatively easy things. Then you vilify one another rather than seek common ground and common sense solutions. Speaking of easy things, it would be simple to sit down behind the laptop and hammer out 800 words on how this atrophy of the country's do big and easy things muscle begins in Washington. I mean, this guy is good. This guy is good. Speaking of easy things, it would be simple to sit down behind the laptop, but that would be rubbish. Let's avoid rubbish. To be sure, however, Washington is a part of the reason why the good old USA is so divided on everything from race to wearing a mask to whether the coronavirus is even all that serious to the definition of treason. I really thought we had settled that one long ago based on my high school civics and government teacher. I was wrong. My brother, we don't teach those things in schools the way we should anymore. In order to solve problems, we have to first acknowledge one exists while also trusting the motives of our reluctant partners, at least until the United States breaks up into 4 or 6 or 26 autonomous nations. Republicans and Democrats are stuck with one another. Right now, the other guy belongs to a different tribe and therefore deserves skepticism and scorn. The Republican president is indifferent to me getting sick, even as he has legitimate worries about the economy. How can you not see that the economy is tied to one's health? And the Democratic governor is enacting tyranny upon me if he or she wants to prevent folks from getting sick. We've not just forgotten that most things, even small ones, are riddled with metric ton of nuance. Forget the red, white, and blue. We are a country that thinks solely in black and white. 2 moments from this week really drove home to this correspondent the failing health of America get things done spirit. The first happened about as far away from Washington as one gets in the contiguous United States. A CNN reporter was interviewing 2 men sitting on a restaurant patio in California. They were asked about Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom's decision to roll back his own reopening plan and how they felt about beaches being closed over the Independence weekend. I want to go back to the beach, said one of the men, who both looked to either in their late 20s or 30s. The other said, government officials shouldn't be allowed to tell us what to do. Huh? Staying home for a few months is annoying, but it's not hard. Covering your face for 15 minutes while you run into a drugstore or 40 while you grocery shop is annoying, but it's not hard. Americans on all points of the political spectrum seem to harbor a warped sense of independence. A warped sense of independence. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown how many here, as soon as they could, packed bars and beaches and restaurants, oftentimes with no regards to the science and data behind social distancing and wearing masks. Independence does not mean life here is a free-for-all. Full disclosure, this correspondent has been to favorite watering hole twice in the last month, sitting outside and as far away from others as possible, while also providing my contact information to assist with tracing efforts. A mask in bathroom breaks, and as such, again, that scratchy thing against my face is annoying, but wearing it isn't hard. My liberty and my freedom remains intact. These bar visits were necessary in recent weeks after covering Donald Trump so closely, day in, day out. We are watching a president unravel with every uttered word and every angry tweet. It was Trump who provided the second example of our eroding hopes of doing big things with his latest refusal to listen to his own experts. There was this reaction to a New York Times article about U.S. intelligence report that Russia put bounties on the heads of U.S. forces in Afghanistan, Taliban forces and Taliban-linked militias. The newspaper reported received payments from the Russian GRU, the successor to the Soviet Union's era KGB, if they would kill American forces. Okay, Trump initially stayed quiet with the White House staff, saying very little as they wanted for the boss to show them the way. He eventually did, calling the entire matter a hoax conjured up by the media and Democrats to make him and other Republicans look bad. That's not how intelligence works, Mr. President, especially not when officers on the ground and analysts at Langley have reason to believe a major adversary is paying a proxy force to take out American soldiers and Marines. That's just not how it works, brother. This is serious business with serious potential geopolitical consequences. Trump's reaction should have been easy. Order briefing ASAP on intelligence reports, then send Moscow a clear message to knock off its shenanigans inside Afghanistan, because some very experienced U.S. intel officials believed evidence showed the report to be true. Now, the bounty reports should have been treated much more seriously by the commander-in-chief, especially one who claims to care about American forces more than any other American president. Apparently not, however, when they are the subject of a New York Times article. How can a country do big things? This is how he's closing the end. How can a country do big things when its duly elected leaders insist on eviscerating anything published by a newspaper just because he disagrees with its editorial page and has been dogged by the professional reporting on its front page, or rejects his intel expert because they bring him reports that offend his worldview or political hopes? How can a country even do easy things? Easy things. Even its president knows only in-chief rather than its commander-in-chief. How can a country tackle big problems when it cannot agree on the color of an orange, or cannot stay home with more creature comforts hand than at any other time in human existence? So far, all evidence indicate this one can't. Coronavirus cases are spiking in over 20 states, and Russia has received many or nary the faintest public warnings from Washington to stand down. Poll after poll shows Trump may no longer be the president the United States wants. But the resurgence of the coronavirus, their own boredom spawned, shows once again that he remains the one the country deserves. He is America. His contrarian, go-it-alone spirit is the new American spirit. And brothers and sisters, that is what we have got to break. That is not the new American spirit. That is the American spirit that Donald Trump would have liked to put in. Welcome aboard, Rose. That is what Donald Trump would like to bring in. That spirit of we cannot do. That spirit of ineptitude. That spirit of dunce. That spirit of non-scientific. That is what they would like. We can't let it go there. And that's why I am here. That's why many of us doing this kind of stuff, we're here. Our goal is to inform. And our goal is to, when SESAC and others come with the tropes that they hear on Fox News or on right-wing radio or whatever, that sounds real. They give us that opportunity to plant in the minds of thousands the answers to those questions so that we can inoculate them the next time they hear Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or the president. One of our goals is to do just that. And Brother SESAC gives us a great opportunity, and other conservatives here that are as let's say, as, and I say this with love again, SESAC, as racist as Mr. SESAC is. And Mr. SESAC is racist not because of anything other than his stature in life, right? But it's okay, because listening and being around people that value him, and everybody, tell Mike SESAC, give Mike SESAC a good hello. Give Mike SESAC some love. Let him know that we here don't harbor hate. We harbor trying to keep people together. We really do. We really, really do. We want people to live together, but we have to get the right information in. Welcome aboard, Rose Williams. Welcome aboard, Karen from YouTube. Welcome aboard, Indiana Bones. I like that, Indiana Bones from YouTube. Lee Grant, welcome back. Let's see. Mike SESAC, welcome. I think I said Larry Grant already. I think I said Dexter Evans, welcome. Lee Grant, I think I called you out. Tiala Wilson. Who else is here? You guys are so active today. Norman Reynolds, Bruce Pollard. So active. Man, all right. Oh, and there's a lot of conversation that was going on while I was playing the other thing. Let's see. If I forgot you, just drop me a line and I'll definitely call you out. Okay, let me start going through the mailers today. I got me, I guess, 8 minutes or so I can do that. Howdy all. Dimitri, howdy. Spaniard Prince, we are 100% right. Thank you so kindly, Mr. Prince. Spaniard Prince, welcome aboard from YouTube. And by the way, folks, if you're on YouTube, remember you can always support our program by giving us a super chat. That's that $sign. You sit there and you give us $1, $2, whatever you want to do to say, let's keep politics done right, positive, going and changing minds and helping the situation going forward. All right, Dimitri OG, welcome aboard. One of the best articulated, well thought out shows. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That coming from the folks who listen and who've listened more than once and say that, it helps me. It improves me. And by the way, whenever I get negative criticism, that helps me as well. So I like people to tell me everything, absolutely everything. Just like, I guess Mike SESAC knows that because he calls me out, and Lee Grant also calls me out a whole lot. Lee Grant, I think, is a good conservative. I think, in listening to Lee Grant, tell me, are you a good conservative? Tiala Wilson, calling truth propaganda is propaganda. Tiala, you hit the nail on the head, sister. Let's see, Lee Grant, we must unite to overthrow the aristocrat. Lee Grant, I don't know what intermission means. I remember I'm an engineer. I'm not like a super historian. I read history as I must to do what I do, but there are some terms that I won't necessarily know. So teach me a little bit, Brother Grant. Let's see. I don't know what that word means. Mike SESAC, Egberto points out, I read that one already. Let's see, Lee Grant, I'm here engaging and supporting free speech, which is essential in a civil society. Lee Grant, I love you for that statement. That's why I'm a board member of the Coffee Party USA. That is what we try to promote, communication, right? We can have heavy discussion and discourse, but what we want is solid communication among people. Because if you and I are talking over a cup of coffee and we're disagreeing and we're hitting up one another, it doesn't matter. Actually, sometimes it's good. Actually, it makes the blood flow, Pretty good. Let's see. Lee Grant says, Egberto is mining, then showcasing any police citizen that can be spun to support his radical anti-police, anti-white ideology. This stirs racial resentment and can lead to violence. Lee, I have to address that. That is not what I'm doing. If that is the way I'm coming across, it is your responsibility for somebody who knows me to point that out to others, that is not what we're doing, but point out the correct narrative, Lee Grant. I am anti-police. I am not. I am anti-current police. The current police is a poor excuse for what a real police system is supposed to be. We need to defund the police as it exists today, have a very small police force for handling violence, and having all the different other agencies to take care of healthcare, to take care of the people who have psychological issues, to take care of disputes between neighbors. Those things don't require armed police that usually evolve into gunfights if there's a person of color involved. We don't need police there that creates the possibility of those things happening. So no, that's what I believe in. The current police today is horrendous. The fact that as a professional, as a business owner, as an educated person, and you can't say that I get an apple in my throat if I'm in proximity to a police officer, Lee Grant. I'm asking you, Brother Grant, empathize with what I am saying and try to live and see through my eyes, and then you will get it. Now, anti-white is the worst thing you could say, especially since you are here, because that's not true. There's nothing anti-white about what I preach. Nothing about what is anti-white ideology? I don't even know what that means. All the things that I stand for, white people stand for. All the things that I stand for, Latinos stand for. What separates us is not anti-white, it's not white ideology. What separates us is a poor, horrendous, terrible capitalist ideology that depends on racism to keep us apart. And the good thing about the way it operates, it actually makes somebody like me, gives you the opportunity to tell somebody like me that I'm using anti-white ideology. There's nothing white about capitalism. It's about power. Do you think I always use Oprah when I'm trying to prove what capitalism is, right? Who do you think Oprah would side with, me or Trump? I know the answer to the question. Trump. So let's get things right. Understand where I'm coming from. And don't make that mistake again, brother. And racial resentment, you ought to be in my show, listening to what I'm saying and promoting that to your sphere of influence. That's what I ask everybody who listens to this show to do. Let's learn together and take these other things through all our spheres of influence, and that gives us geometric growth. Geometric growth means we can inform a lot of people doing that. And that's what you should do, Brother Grant. Because you know there's not a racist bone in my body. There's not a sexist bone in my body. There's not a homophobic bone in my body anymore. I've done the work to clear those things first of the head and then of the heart. Let's move on. Tiana Wilson, just like the media only wants to point out black on black crime, and that's the point. You know, they get a false sense of reality, Tiaola. You're absolutely right about that. Okay, let's continue. David Salerno, we all call BS and recognize GRU activity trolls. Okay, Tiala says, I'm not going to go with the folks answering other folks in the thing. I'm going to try to get new things. Most people are starting to see racism and bigotry of the political left. No, that's not true at all. Most people are getting together to fight this. That's the things that I've started to show. White people, Latinos, everybody are marching together with Black Lives Matter. We have over 60% of support now for Black Lives Matter. Those people who don't see it, they're on the wrong team. They're on the wrong side of history. We have to get to the right side of history. Norman Reynolds, interest in that is mining and showcasing when it does not apply some research when the terms welfare queens was choreographed from falsehood. Norman, you're so right, brother. The research Egberto does is represented by so many occurrences that I and many black persons have personally experienced. Yeah, you know, we live it. There's a good program, the good thing on NPR today, where this guy, this worker went into a white woman's home, and she was just having a little talk with him, and she asked him about his life. And when he started to tell her, without, just telling her what life was like and police and what happens when he leaves her house, and she was in shock. She wrote a blog that went viral just to learn what some in this country goes through. Indiana Bones, you go Egberto, capitalism and racism reinforce one another and you are spreading the wisdom. Brother Indiana Bones, is it a brother or a sister? A woman or a man? By the way, folks, when I say brother and sister, it's not race-based. Brother and sister means female or male. I love you all. Everybody knows that. You know, actually, my family is multicultural. My family is multi-everything. So I can't, and my family listens to my show. So, again, I just have to point that out sometimes because it is important. It is important that people understand that and know where I'm coming from. Egberto looks at people's skin color instead of their character. Is that really true? Ask people in this room if that's true. I'm not even going to answer that. Actually, the most cause of deaths were by... Okay. You're kind of twisting your point or kind of trying to come closer to me, Mike SESAC. I see what you're doing. We still don't know how many deaths have happened in the countries of Africa. And we don't know how many deaths have happened in the country of America. Okay? We only know what the FBI says. We don't know how many people are actually murdered for all different kind of reasons. Okay? Thank you. All right, Tiela, right. You do it so much better. I think you're talking to somebody else. Bomb Tulsa, Black Wall Street, and did an axe. Thank you, Sims. And did the axe murder massacre on the next place Donald Trump is rallying. You got that right. Exactly. Man, I have so many smart people in this room. Lee Grant, my things are definitely not simplistic. All right. History is convinced people that Hitler, Mussolini, Pinochet, and Franco were leftists. They killed. I don't know why you're on this leftist. Anyway, I'm not going to touch that. Rose Williams, hi everyone. Rose, you're late, but you're here. We love you, Rose. Thank you. And thank you. Rose is our, anytime I write something now, if you see a typo in it, tell Rose. She knows, because come on, guys, you know, Rose knows her stuff. All right, let's see. Indiana Jones, science has shown that empathy, good social league grant, lacking empathy tends to come from the lifestyle and brings that people, I get that. All right, if you connect modern Democrats with the KKK, you don't understand Dixiecrats. You are genius, Indiana boss. The Republican Party is now made up of those former Dixiecrats. And that's why I laugh anytime they said, you know, the Democratic Party was a party. It's the Republicans who freed the slaves. Yeah, and then all the Democrats ran to you. All right, let's see. I got to hurry up and finish now. Egberto, good vibes. Thank you, Indiana boss. Let's see. Mike SESAC, I can't read much more. You guys are the bomb. Let's see. No, I don't assume white people are racist at all. I love everybody, and I don't know why you would say that. That is a bit upsetting. Stop saying that. That's not true. Mike, thanks for being here. Do not only remove the examination of skin color socially and present, we need to look at the society that exists and existed before with skin color as its hammer. We must remove current barriers. Thank you. So, folks, go and read everything Norman put in the feed today, guys. You got to read Norman's stuff today. Okay. I'm not going to read your response. Anyhow, folks, look, I thank you so kindly for listening to the show today. Before I go, please remember that this is a show that needs your support. You can support our show easily by going to our links. And you know, I change all the links to make it easier to remember. So now if you want to become a patron, I usually say go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Now it's this, politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. If you want to donate via PayPal, it is politicsdoneright.com/PayPal. If you want to donate via Facebook, it is politicsdoneright.com/Facebook. Made everything easy. You know why? Because it was also very difficult for me. So I am going to put all those links on the screen right now. And you know the store one as well. Here are the links, and I hope you get them. Did it go? Yes, it did. Oh, it went. I think it did. Let's see if it's going to give me an okay for every single one. I think it will. Anyhow, folks, let me tell you, thank you so kindly for having spent this time with me. When I talk about loving people and doing what's right, I don't just say that for the sake of saying that. I want to see a really vibrant society. I want us to, you remember Rodney King, he said, can we just get along? I really mean that. It is so much easier to get along. So, folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! I'm Egberto Willies, host of Politics Done Right, an independent news program. I post several news videos of interest every day. I ask you so kindly to subscribe to my channel. And please leave me some comments. Thank you very much.